Hey everyone! Today we're talking about one of the most important moments in human history, the day humans landed on the moon. Some people believe the moon landing was fake. They say it was filmed on Earth. They say the technology wasn't good enough. But when you look at the facts, the truth is actually very simple. Humans really did go to the moon. Let's start at the beginning. In the 1960s, the world was divided into two major powers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Both were competing to prove who was more advanced in science and technology. This competition became known as the space race. The Soviet Union achieved many early victories. They launched the first satellite. They sent the first human into space. So the United States decided to aim even higher. In 1961, the U.S. made a bold promise. They would land a human on the moon and bring them back safely before the end of the decade. To do this, NASA created the Apollo program. This was not a single mission. It was a massive effort involving hundreds of thousands of engineers, scientists, and technicians. After years of testing and preparation, Apollo 11 was chosen to attempt the first moon landing. On July 16, 1969, a giant rocket called Saturn V launched from Earth. It remains the most powerful rocket ever successfully flown. Inside the spacecraft were three astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Their journey to the moon took about 4 days. As they traveled through space, Earth slowly became smaller behind them. Eventually, they entered orbit around the moon. Then came the most dangerous part of the mission. The lunar module, named Eagle, separated from the main spacecraft. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were inside it. Michael Collins stayed behind, orbiting the moon alone. The lunar module began its descent toward the moon's surface. The moon has no atmosphere, no air, no weather, and no room for mistakes. During the descent, the onboard computer started showing warning alarms. This meant it was overloaded. Neil Armstrong took manual control. He guided the lunar module away from a dangerous crater, searching for a safe place to land. Fuel was running low. With only seconds left, Eagle touched down. Neil Armstrong radioed back to Earth and said, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." For the first time in history, humans were standing on another world. A few hours later, Neil Armstrong opened the hatch. He slowly climbed down the ladder, and then he stepped on the moon. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Buzz Aldrin soon joined him. The moon's gravity is much weaker than Earth's, so every movement felt slow and light, almost like floating. They walked carefully across the surface. They planted a flag. They collected rocks and soil samples. They set up scientific experiments. They took hundreds of photographs. The lighting, shadows, and reflections in these photos match exactly what physics predicts in a low-gravity, airless environment. Their footprints pressed clearly into the lunar dust. Because the moon has no wind or rain, those footprints are still there today. The astronauts spent about 2.5 hours outside the lunar module. Then it was time to leave. The lunar module lifted off from the moon's surface and rose back into orbit. It docked with the command module, reuniting the crew. Soon after that, the journey back to Earth began. 3 days later, the spacecraft re-entered Earth's atmosphere. It was surrounded by intense heat and fire as it slowed down. Parachutes deployed, and the capsule safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. The mission was a success. But the story doesn't end there. The astronauts brought back over 800 pounds of moon rocks from different Apollo missions. These rocks have unique chemical properties that are not found naturally on Earth. Scientists from many different countries studied them. They all reached the same conclusion. These rocks came from the moon. The mission was also tracked by antennas around the world. Even rival nations followed Apollo 11 signals. At the time, no major scientific organization or government claimed the landing was fake. Faking the moon landing would have required thousands of people to stay silent forever. It would have been more complex than actually going to the moon. And remember, Apollo missions didn't stop with Apollo 11. 6 missions successfully landed humans on the moon. 12 astronauts walked on the lunar surface. Each mission returned with more data, more photos, and more physical evidence. All of it tells the same story. Humans really did go to the moon. The moon landing changed how people saw the world. For the first time, humans looked back at Earth from another celestial body. It showed how small our planet is and how connected we all are. The moon was not the end, it was the beginning. It proved that humans can leave Earth, explore space, and achieve what once seemed impossible. So the next time someone says the moon landing was fake, remember this: the rocks are real, the data is real, the technology is real, and the footsteps are still there. Humans really did go to the moon.